I want to talk to you today about the importance of proper classification for employees and independent contractors under the Fair Labor Standards Act. It is important to make sure that you've got employees and independent contractors classified correctly, and there are a lot of implications that come along with that. The first is an independent contractor, you don't have to provide them any sort of minimum wage or overtime benefits. They're entitled to none of that stuff if they're genuinely independent contractors. Employees, on the other hand, get protections like the minimum wage, overtime when they work 40 or more hours in a single work week, and that applies unless that employee is otherwise exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act. A lot of employers will get wrong whether an employee is properly classified as an employee versus an independent contractor. Maybe they work a lot of overtime and the employer doesn't want to pay them overtime at time and a half, because that can get pretty expensive, especially for people who are putting in long work weeks. Courts can look at the entirety of the relationship and say, even though you call yourself or your employer calls you an independent contractor, you're actually an employee because the employer exercises so much control over you. You are economically dependent on that employer. You are part of the core of that employer's business. Your employer is providing all of the tools. The employer is the one who has the opportunity for profit and loss, not just to make more money or less money by hustling or doing more work, but the actual profit or loss by the success or failure of the business as a whole. The economic reality of the situation, the factual reality of the situation is that you're an employee under the control of the employer, and it's figured out that you've had that wrong the whole time. All of a sudden, the employer who was acting like they didn't have an employee, they had an independent contractor, now they're looking at somebody who for 2 years, maybe 3 years, is how far you can look back, you owe them not just their regular pay rate for those hours that are in excess of 40, you owe them time and a half, and on top of that, the Fair Labor Standards Act provides for liquidated damages of an amount equal to what you should have paid them in the first place. So you don't just get hit for what you should have paid the employee, you get hit for double that. And on top of that, the Fair Labor Standards Act automatically provides for fee shifting so that a prevailing plaintiff's attorney gets their fees paid. Now there are ways for some of that stuff to change, but that's why it's so important for employers to get that right the first time. And employees, if you're being treated as an independent contractor, but you think that you might not be an independent contractor because of how much control your employer has over you, how you are economically dependent on your employer, how they provide all the tools, there's no specialized, you're not like a plumber or an electrician where you're in business for yourself clearly. If you don't have any opportunity for genuine profitability or loss, then you may be an employee and you may be entitled to overtime pay even though you call yourself and your employer calls you an independent contractor.